for joining. I'm going to quickly introduce myself and kick us off today. My name is Noah Edelman. I'm a program manager within the Office of Community Wellness and Population Health. You may see my name pop up on a few emails here and there, but want to say a quick good afternoon. Thank you all for joining, taking time out of your lunch break to join us today. We have a great webinar thanks to Reverend Dr. Phil Craig, focusing on time management today. So he's going to kick us off. We appreciate all your responses within our Discord platform, being here today, building towards mental, spiritual, physical, financial, holistic health and well-being. So I'll kick it over to Reverend Craig to lead us off for a great webinar.
All right. Thank you, Noah. And big shout out to the team to make this happen. Richard and Shola and Stacy, Sabrina, everyone that Christina. And of course, I want to give a big shout out to our director, Debbie Salas Lopez, for without her, and she did, none of this would have been really manageable or doable. So, we're going to jump right into it because we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about myself. And of course, thank everyone else that is jumping on. It's going to be a great webinar. It's not going to be all in one session, right? Time management is something that is so many components to it. So let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Phil Craig. Some call me Coach, some call me Dr. Phil Craig, Reverend Phil Craig. Listen, Phil Craig is fine by me. I want to make sure that we get through the resources that we have to get through today so that you can walk away from here more knowledgeable, more informed, and definitely more so in a space where you become more productive. So once again, my name is Phil Craig. I am a husband, I am a father, and I am a servant. I do pastor the church in Queens called the Greater Springfield Community Church. I am a father of 5. I am a husband of only 1. And right now, I'm just going to be your coach, your time management coach for the next 45 minutes. I do have an associate's degree in telecommunications, a bachelor's degree in organizational management, a master's degree in business, and also a master's degree in divinity. And I have a doctorate degree in ministry. And what does ministry have to do with time management? It has really everything to do with it because ministry simply means helping people. And this is what we're here for. This is the reason why I am teamed up with Northwell, because I found that we have so many similarities in wanting to help people, not just on one platform, but as a holistic company and a holistic individual. So we want to just welcome you once again for joining us today. This is our first, what we call Lunch and Learn. We'll be having at least one of these webinars every month that will help to empower, to enhance, and to equip every person that is on. This is the live and on the replay. So the good thing about this is that if you do not get it live, in which we hope you get it live, because I am going to do a Q&A right after this, probably about 10, 15 minutes in, and you will be able to get a lot more out of it. So, but for those on the replay, you'll be able to see and hear what we talked about, what was being presented, and you will get the chance to jump on with us next month. Okay, so let's get right to it. So as you know, we are here for time management. This is a time management webinar. But before I get into time management, let's talk about just time, right? What basically is time? And the definition that I have is that time is a continuous, non-renewable resource that measures the progression of events. Now, before I even go any further, what I want you to do, for those of you that are on, I want you to just type in the chat, because I'll be looking at the chat on and off while I'm presenting. Just tell me, what do you want to get out of this? Thank you, Keisha. I see that you put in time. You want to get time management strategies. Awesome. And we're definitely going to talk about that. Dr. Williams, okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Regina, for jumping on. I like to get more information on best practices when wearing multiple hats on a daily basis. You're in the right place, without a doubt. So let's get, so for those of you, jump in the chat. Let's have a talk. And if something pops up while I'm presenting, if I can answer it, I will answer it. Okay, Shola says actionable tips would be great. You're going to get that without a doubt. So let's get right into this. So time, as I said, is a continuous, non-renewable resource that measures the progression of events. Now, everybody is allocated the same amount of time each day, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. It is 24 hours a day. It is 160 hours, 168 hours a week, right? And that is so that you can accomplish your personal and professional goals. Now that we know what time is, now let's talk about time management. What is time management? Time management is the ability to use one's time effectively and productively. That's what it is. So the time that we have, which is continuous, and it is non-renewable. You cannot renew this resource. And once again, it is a resource. And resource is a key word here, guys. I want you to know resource is a key word. We have 5 different types of resources. But a resource is anything that can be used to achieve a goal, to meet a need, or to add value to a person or even an organization or society, right? So we use resources to get to where we need to get to. 5 types of resources. I'm going to give you this real fast. And that is the physical resource, right? Tangible items that support our tasks and projects. And examples, they will include money, they will include equipment, and they will include materials. You have human resources, which are skills, knowledge set, effort that people contribute. These are, things like their expertise, their creativity, their labor. Then you have natural resources. The natural resources are elements from nature. Right? We all use it all the time. Humans to sustain life or enhance growth, such as water, air, minerals, even the forests, like the rainforest. There's so many different things from a natural resource perspective that we use on a daily basis. Then we have intellectual resources, which is our knowledge, information, the ideas that contribute to solving problems, and innovating ideas that help us to add on to things that already exist. Now, our last resource is what we're going to be talking about. Our last resource is our time. Time as a resource. What is time as a resource? Time as a resource is an intangible yet essential resource. Time is finite and is non-renewable, as we said before, meaning that once it's used, it cannot be regained and it cannot be replaced. So I want to keep that in the back of your mind, that once time is gone, you cannot turn back the hands of time. Okay? All right. So why time is such a unique resource? Because, as I mentioned, that time is irreplaceable. It is non-renewable. I cannot say it too much, too many times, because I watch people all the time that they just waste time, and then they try to make up time, and then they work harder to try to get to the place that they should have been years ago, right? So this makes it one of the most valuable resources that a person has. I want you to be mindful about this, that as time is a resource, what time is a resource, what does it do for us? It helps people like us prioritize, achieve goals, more effectively. It also helps us to balance our professional and our personal responsibilities, all which contribute to us being more fulfilled and more impactful. And if you want to live a more fulfilled and more impactful life, then you have to use time as a resource that you will respect. If you don't respect time, time is not going to respect you. The cost of wasting time, missed opportunities, unachieved goals, and regrets. Now, how many of y'all, let's be honest, right? Put it in the chat. How many of y'all have ever said, man, I wish I would have done this before? Right? Something came up in life, you say, man, I wish I would have done it before. I should have took advantage of this before. Just put in there me. Yeah, that's me. Yes, yes, yes. Right? We've all done that. We've all regretted somehow, some way to say, man, if I can only turn back the hands of time. Right? So what we want to do, we want to be conscious of time. Being mindful of your time means regularly evaluating whether your actions will align with your goals, because the goals that you have today may not be the same goals that you have next month. So we want to make sure that what we do, we constantly look at what our goals are. We're mindful of our time. How much time do we have left for this project? Where am I at in life? Because what's your purpose, or basically what you've been focused on last month, may not be the same focus that you have on this month, because things shift and change in our lives. Last month, you might have been focused on your money, on how you're going to balance money coming into 2025. This month, you might have had a health challenge. So your focus is not going to be so much on money now. Your focus and your goals are going to be more so on regaining back the health, so that later on I can focus on my money. So what you want to do, you have to be very conscious and mindful of each and every day about your different goals and about your time management, on what you're going to be shifting more time to and less time on. All right. So what we like to do is that we would like to live with purpose. Whether you're aware of value of time, you prioritize tasks that contribute to your personal professional growth, rather than filling the day with low impact activities. I don't know about you. Have you ever seen people that, you be so busy, and at the end of the day, you like, what the heck did I accomplish? Because I know I've had those days. Come on. Then let's be honest in here today, right? We've all had those days where we've been so busy. At the end of the day, we're tired, and yet we're just busy being busy. We're not busy being purposeful. Come on. I know I have more than one yes, right? I know somebody can honestly say, yes, I've done that. I've worked real hard all day long, and I can't even see what I've accomplished. So I want you, being that we've all done that, right? I want you to look at this before we get into the methods. The methods are good, but if you don't identify what your hacks are, then the methods are really not going to be productive for you. So let's do this. I'm going to talk about some major hacks that people struggle with time management before we get into the methods. First of all, lack of clear goals and priorities. Many people don't set clear goals, which leaves without a roadmap for how to use their time effectively. My suggestion is to always know, what do you want? Why do you want to get this? Why are you trying to reach this particular goal? Because when people don't know what's most important, they may focus on these low impact tasks instead of high priority actions that align with their goals. Or what your purpose is to move your needle forward every day. How am I moving my needle forward every single day of my life? I heard a speaker say one time, his name was Jim Rohn, and he says, You will make a living if you work hard on your job. He says, but you'll make a fortune if you work hard on yourself. My suggestion to you is to make sure that you are working on yourself to perfect, to become more progressive, and to become more productive on an everyday basis. So first one is lack of clear goals and priorities. Second one is procrastination. Everybody procrastinates. And to be honest with you, sometimes people procrastinate because they have a fear of failure. They either have a fear of failure or they are perfectionists, which everything has to be in its right perfection. And guess what, guys? Most of the time, all things will not all line up. So you're waiting for something to happen that usually never happens, right? Some people delay starting tasks because they fear that they won't complete them perfectly, or because they fear making mistakes. We all make mistakes. This is how people become successful. They become successful by making mistakes and knowing that when I do it over again, I'm not going to do that again. So in this procrastination stage, right, you have a fear of failure. You are perfectionist and you delay projects until everything else is in its perfected form, or you're feeling overwhelmed. A lot of times, large or complex tasks can feel daunting. They can feel overwhelming, and therefore you want to avoid them. So what do? You just delay on that. And also lack of motion, lack of motivation. If a task sometimes feel uninterested to a person or it's too challenging, people tend to procrastinate and engage in other things rather than this high priority task that needs to be taken care of. Number 3 is poor planning or organizing. No daily or weekly planning. How I get through my week, I plan every Sunday for what my next Monday through Saturday is going to look like. Because without planning ahead, people are more likely to drift through their day. They're just going by, okay, whatever comes up, that's what I'll take care of. Whatever happens, that's what I'll do. But the truth of the matter is you will probably miss out on so many high priority things that you just didn't think about. And I'm telling you, the reason why you plan is because you can't rely on this. You have to write it down. Writing it down. So even in the Bible says, the prophet Habakkuk says, write it down and make it plain. It is one of, to me, the Bible is a very practical book, right? Not just a religious book, but it's a practical book because there's a lot of ideas that we should be incorporating on our daily basis, on our daily basis when it comes to even time management. So you got poor planning and organization. There's no daily or weekly planning, lack of structure or systems. The reason why we're doing this time management is because what I realize is that a lot of people, as they go along their week, their day, their month, even their year, most of them don't have any structure at all, and most people don't have any systems. And not having a clear system for organizing tasks or meetings and even deadlines can lead to disorganization and missed responsibilities. How many times you guys just say, oh man, I dropped the ball, or people on your team have dropped the ball, right? So these are things that you don't want to happen. And you also want to teach your team on these different time management modules so people can become better, right? We are, as leaders, or as organizational CEOs and stuff like that, you want to have a strong team. And if you don't have time management skills, then your team more than likely are not going to follow time management skills. Number 4, you have underestimating time requirements. Is when we think that a time of a project, or we give a timeline to a task and we underestimate it, and is much more complex than what we first initiated to be. And then you don't have any buffer time, right? That's another hack. when you scheduling appointment after appointment and you don't have anything in between to where you can get your thoughts back, get yourself back together, because you might have just went through one. And I don't know about you guys, what your life is, but sometimes I go in a meeting, I come out of a meeting and I am totally distorted. Right, it was so draining, mindfully draining. If you ever experienced that, put in the chat meetings, right? I guess what would we label that as? Destructive meetings. That's what I use. I said that was just destructive for me. I mean, the information might have been good, but for me as a person, it was overwhelming. I walk out of this meeting like just wow. Have you ever come to a meeting where you just say, I need a few minutes. I got to get my mind back together, right? I have to get myself back on track. So therefore, you have to remove yourself from that space to where you're about to go into, because you can't go into the new meeting and you're just totally drained out, right? Your mind is just blown. So you want to get yourself back. Take 5 minutes out. Even if you just sit in your chair, take some deep breaths. Breathing exercises are very good in time management. It resets your mindset. It resets you, because sometimes you can go through meetings and have anxiety, right? So what you want to do, you want to just kind of bring yourself back to right back to the nucleus and where you started. Okay. Now, so we went there over optimism about tasks, no buffer time. And number 5 is distractions and lack of focus, right? And how does that happen? Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm sure everybody on this call is attached to a phone, right? We're all attached to our phones, iPads, tablets, all that stuff. That's part of life now. But the question is, are you addicted to it? And we're going to do it. We're going to do a little exercise since I'm on this part, right? Because distractions to me, I just, if you guys looked at this Monday's motivation that I did, this Monday's motivation, that was the topic, distractions. And I talk about how distractions are dream killers. Distractions will jack you up, y'all. It will jack you up without a doubt. If you are more focused on the distraction than you are on the task will never get done. Or if it does get done, it is not done with the precise expertise that it could have been done to reach the spirit of excellence. And that's what you have to be careful of, because distractions would take you out of that mindset of working in the spirit of excellence. So digital distractions, social media, email, online browsing can easily consume time if you don't set boundaries or limit screen time. Now, I was talking to a group the other day, and a lot of people in the group didn't know anything about their screen time. So what I want you to do, for those of you, if you can go into your screen time. You can, like, if you have, let me see, if you have an iPhone, you just go into settings. Let's do that now. Let's see if we can take a moment now. We have a few moments. I'm still good. I'm able to get to the methods. Not a problem. Let's go to the iPhone. For those that have iPhones, go to settings, screen time, and then weekly, daily, whatever it says. It'll tell you weekly, daily. I would say jump on the week. If you have an Android, go to settings, go to digital well-being and parent control. And once you get there, yeah. So see if you're able to do it. So just put in I'm doing it. Just put in the chat, I'm doing it. If you're able to do it. If you can't do it, I don't want you to get off of this. Okay, good. If you're able to do it, do it. All right. Josue, Pastor Kate. Okay, great. Because I want you to see something, guys. I want you to see that's something that's going to blow your mind. I was talking to somebody, man. Now I looked at mine the other day. I wrote mine down. Let me see if I have it on my desk. Um, and and I was like, wow, this is definitely a good check every now and then. When I did mine, I do it regularly now, but I looked at it this week. This week was kind of it was a lot going on for me this week. And when I looked at mine this week, my week report, well, my daily report, it tells me that I'm on my screen time 7 hours and 10 minutes a day. If you're doing it, tell me what your screen time is daily or weekly. I'm on 7 hours and 10 minutes a day. This is what my average screen time was. And guess how much screen time I used last week? From November 3rd to November the 9th, I used 50 hours and 16 minutes of screen time. Now, that's fine. But what you have to look at is it'll tell you what apps that you're using. What are the most apps? And it'll break down your hours. So if you are dealing with TikTok, Facebook, and I guess whatever, maybe Instagram, right? If those are your top three, you might want to do some research and you might want to kind of re-look at why you're on TikTok so much or why you're on Facebook so much. We did I was doing with a group of people. I told you the other day I was doing this, and people were spitting out the numbers, and because I do time management groups, and in this group, the lady said, I wrote it down, 21 hours in TikTok, 16 hours in Facebook, 10 hours in, I don't even know what I wrote here for. And then she has down 3 hours in messages. Now, messages can be productive because you're going through text and all that stuff. But when you have an X amount, like you're 3 times more on Facebook or TikTok than you are when handling business and messages or emails and stuff like that, that's crazy. Let me see. Anybody got any numbers? We're gonna put that up and we're gonna keep going. I want to see if anybody have any numbers before I go. All right, I'm gonna keep going, and y'all can put up your numbers in the chat once you have it. I want to know how much hours are you spending on screen time. And all right, Pastor K said 9 hours 27 minutes average last week, 30 hours in YouTube. Hey, okay. Oh, Pomodoro timers. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Nice. Yeah, I think YouTube, I mean, you can just learn so much from YouTube. So that's great. All right, good. So while you're doing that, y'all put that up. I'm going to keep going through a few more hacks, and then we're going to jump right into the modules because it's 12:30 already. So without going into too much detail, here's another hack. Lack of self-discipline, guys, and accountability, right? I can always break it down for you if we do a follow-up. You can always hit me up on Discord, so that's not a problem. Josh Sway says 17 hours daily, $118 weekly. Okay, Dr. Regina says weekly numbers, Facebook 6 hours, texting 3 hours, YouTube 2 hours. Okay, great. If you know that your hours can improve, hey, it's fine. You can hit me up on Discord. We want to keep this going, right? We want to try to get to your goals. So it's very important that we keep this going. So let me finish this here. So number 7 is lack of self-discipline and accountability. My number 8 is ineffective task management. Number 9 is lack of energy management. And a lot of times is that because we're ignoring our physical and mental health needs, right? Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, insufficient exercise, all that stuff can lead to fatigue, reduced focus, poor productivity. And therefore, you ain't thinking about time management if you can hardly even get out of bed. So when we talk about time management, there's a lot of components that goes in order for us to be as effective as possible, because we can't be effective in time management if we are insufficient in our energy levels, if we are fatigued all the time, if we're burned out, we're not taking the proper breaks. Even God took a day off, right? The Bible says that he created for 6 days and he rested for 7. So what he did there, God gave us a framework of how we should be working ourselves, not to be working 14 days straight, doing overtime, doing 60-hour weeks and all that stuff. You're eventually going to burn out. And if you burn out, that reduces your efficiency and motivation to manage time effectively. Another thing is this, and I really pretty dig down on this in my workshop classes: the absence of a growth mindset. So you have two types of mindsets. You have the growth mindset and you have the fixed mindset. Some people believe that they are naturally disorganized and no good at time management, at sports, at whatever it is, which would lead them to excuse me, which would lead them to believe that they're just not going to make it better. But a growth mindset is to say, I may not be good at this right now, but I'm going to become better. I'm going to work at what I need to work at so I can become the best person that I can be. All right. All right. So now let's get right into this. We have about a good 10 minutes, and then we can do Q&A. I want to get into the area of this webinar. And this is going to have to be part one. I'm going to set it up with Richard, Sabrina, and the rest of the team, and to see if we can do part two on this next month, the second Wednesday of the month, part two, because we're dealing with this portion, but there's also another portion, a mindset portion that we have to deal with regarding time management. So let's get into this portion which I call the time management tunnel. And that's dealing with the definition, the importance, the principles, and the methods. And I'm going to go through this part right here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this area because I want to get to the methods, which I think you can start identifying some methods now. Well, we already know the definition of time management, which is the conscious planning, organizing, and dividing of time between activities to make the most of each day, right? The importance of time management, and this is what we have to understand, is a productivity booster, right? When you have good time management, it allows individuals to accomplish more in less time by staying focused and efficient. It reduces stress, because if your time management is off, you are going to get stressed out because you're not going to produce the way that you would like to produce, and jobs are not going to be done. You're not going to see an effective you, and therefore you're going to get stressed. The importance of time management: enhanced decision-making. Effective time management improves decision-making by helping prioritize tasks based on their importance. And we're going to talk about that in a minute when we get to the methods. Improve work-life balance. Right? When you got good time management, you can still be a parent without allowing the work to overflow into your parenting time, and vice versa. Right? You know, a lot of times, or even those that are in the faith community, pastors and leaders, community leaders that are on this call, right? We take our work home. Don't take your work to the beach. When it's time to relax and time to play, you should be able to have time to play. You should be able to have time to relax. You know, don't go on vacation and you're working throughout the whole vacation. That doesn't make sense. And then don't be on vacation at work. When you're at work, you should be at work. You should be focusing on what needs to be done. That's all in time management. Now, what is the impact of poor time management? First of all, you're going to have missed opportunities. Failing to manage time can lead to missed deadlines, delayed goals, and lost opportunities. People are not going to open doors for you if they see that you're dropping the ball all the time. There's going to be opportunities that may have been open for you, but they're not going to stay open for you. They will see by your history and how you do things. They're going to say, maybe that's not the person for the promotion. Maybe that's not the person for that position. Also, the impact of poor time management, increased stress, like I told you, and burnout, and also negative effects on relationships and health. Your health, if you are up all night long, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, y'all tell me what are one of the poor time management issues that y'all have come across. One of my poor time management issues were, before I got more into it, is that I would be up all night long, wouldn't get enough rest. And right now I deal with some insomnia because of that bad habit I had time and time again. I'm much better now. I pretty much cut off at 9 o'clock. But I used to be up to 1, 2, 3 in the morning and then back up at 5, 6, or 7. Right? So rest is one of the poor time management hacks that can happen to you. Okay, let's get here. Understanding time management principles. Setting goals and priorities. Define clear goals. Time management begins with knowing what you want to achieve. Establishing priorities. Understand that not all tasks are equally important. And I'm going to show y'all when we get to the Eisenhower matrix on how you can fix that. Okay? Then the last thing that I would say in this area is identifying task and responsibility. Task identification basically is make a list of tasks based on your personal and professional responsibilities. And break down large tasks. That's number 2. You have to break it down. So I said to a class, I think I was doing a workshop in my church, and was talking about just doing tasks, right? So about writing a book. And I told him, I said, how many of y'all, if I told you to write a 400-page book, how many of y'all think you can accomplish it? And pretty much 95% of the class says, yeah, that's not for me. So I says, well, what if I tell you to write, can you write a paragraph right now if I ask you to write a paragraph? Oh, yeah, no problem, Pastor. They write a paragraph. Cool. And then in 20 minutes, if I come back to you and say, can you write another paragraph for me? Oh, yeah, no problem. Sure. In 2 hours, if I come back to you and say, can you write another paragraph? And then, of course, there's not a problem. And then maybe by the end of the day, I said, do you think you can write another paragraph before you finish for the day? Sure. Now you have 4 or 5 paragraphs written one day. And I asked him, I said, do you think you can do that maybe on a daily basis? Absolutely. I said, so if you do that for 1 year, you'll have just about a 400-page book written. And everybody was like, wow, I understand now. So don't look at your projects, and especially dealing with time management. Don't look at it as a whole. Break it down. Somebody write it down. Put it in the chat, guys. Break it down. I want you to understand it is power in breaking your project down, looking at it in a different way. Y'all put in the chat, break it down, break it down. I want y'all to get it here. Now we're going to get into the methods. Come on, y'all still with me? Did I lose y'all? I hope I didn't lose y'all. I hope y'all still with me. There you go, break it down. Come on. All right, so we're going to get into these. We're going to get in. I have 25 management methods that I pulled up for y'all. I'm not going to get through all of these. We're going to save some for next month. I'll try to get through because we're at 12:44 right now. I do want to leave some time for a few questions if needed. If not, we'll just we'll save it. We'll get on Discord and we'll have a conversation on this. All right. How y'all doing so far? Are y'all okay? Are y'all okay with how I'm going? My speed, is the speed good? Was I going too fast for you? Okay, we all good? All right. So I want to do this. In these, I have 25 list of time management methods. Now, I can give you the one, I don't use any of these. The one that I use, I did not put it in this list. The one that I use, and I'll tell you the one I use, and then I find it to be most effective for me, and then I'll start with the 25. So the one I use is what I call the 168, right? It's not an area code. The 168, basically, and some of y'all probably already know, we have 168 hours out the week. That's what we have. That means it's 24 hours in a day times 7. 24 times 7 is 168. Now, I'm just gonna quickly go through why I use this and how I use this. So when I use the 168 method, I put my whole calendar out and I look at my day. Well, how is my day set up? How my day is set up is that I start out at 5 a.m. in the morning and I retire by 9 p.m., give or take, right? Some days maybe a little earlier, some days maybe a little later. But out of that time frame, it is 16 hours. So I'm up at 5 and I go to bed at 9. It is 16 hours. That's 16 hours out of 24. And so that means that I have 8 hours left. The 8 hours is going towards my sleep time, my rest time, right? That's the way I break it down. Now, how do I break this down? I break it down with from 5 to 5:30 is my devotions. 5 to 5:30 is my devotions. 5:30 to 6:30 is my gym. So what you want to do is say, well, let's just make it because sometimes I start at 4:30. So let's just make it 1 hour. 4:30 to 5:30 is devotional time, if you do devotional time. But just make sure that the purpose of this is to make sure that all your time is actually accounted for. And if you do have time that's not accounted for, that's just a free period. But when you see all the time that's accounted for, what you have to do is identify to see if this is high priority, can I do without it, or can it be changed? Now, my time that I'm giving you here is basically a Monday through Friday. Sometimes it rolls over to Saturday. Saturday and Sunday is a little different. For me, Sunday is totally different than any other day of the week because I'm preaching, I'm doing workshops, whatever the fact may be. So let's just stay with a Monday through Friday right now, and you start working on your 168. If you do 1 hour in the morning of devotion, that means that you have 7 hours for your devotion. So you have 168 minus 7 is now 161. And then after that, I go to the gym. I do an hour in the gym. That means that I have 7 hours. Maybe I'll say 7 hours. I usually try to do something working out some type of way, even if I'm walking, whatever, 1 hour each day. So you have 7 hours from 161 minus 7 now is down to 154. So y'all got the idea of what that's about, right? And you want to do it with your travel time. If for those of you who have 9 to 5s that have to take transportation and go to depending on where you at, how long it takes you to get to your job and back, maybe it's an hour there, hour back, you put that in and you label it and you deduct it down until you can try to get to 0. You got 168, but it takes time off very rapidly, guys. So you're not going to be there all day working on 168, 168 hours. It's really not a lot once you get to it, right? So that's the 168 method. That's the method I use. That's how I form my week. That's how I put in high priority things because, I take my son to school, bring back how long that takes. I do what they call a morning glory every morning. I try to keep it to 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 12 minutes where I do personal development. I do that on Facebook until the end of the year. Then we'll be doing Zoom. But I do that every morning, at least 15 minutes. But I do have a 30-minute block on it in case I go over a little bit. If I'm going into some personal development stuff before we pray, it's sometimes it goes a little longer. So You want to block all that stuff out. That's the 168 method. If you have any other questions, I would love to help y'all out in order to get yourself down to where you need to get down to. Let's go right into these. We have, I'm going to give you 5 minutes of this, but one of the most important ones that a lot of people use is what they call the Eisenhower matrix. This is one of the time management methods. Very, excuse me, it is very popular with a lot of people that I know. And how do they do this? The Eisenhower matrix pretty much divides tasks into 4 categories. Now, I just made this real fast. For those of you who may can see this, I made this real fast. I don't know if it's a blur, but it's just 4 boxes, guys, right? 4 boxes. And make it up into quadrants. And let me give you what the quadrants mean. The first quadrant is your high priority task that needs immediate attention, right? Deadlines, critical issues, all that stuff. The second quadrant is important, but it's not that urgent. And these are a lot of maybe long-term goals, right? Planning things, learning, development. Maybe you signed up for, you want to sign up for a mastermind or something that requires to be scheduled in advance. Quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 are tasks that require immediate attention, but don't contribute much to goals. Now, a lot of these things can be delegated or even maybe minimized. It depends on how important they are. But these are things that you can delegate that is not going to take up more of your time. You delegate it to somebody, and then you would just touch in and touch base with them every now and then. The second one is the Pomodoro technique. I think, Pastor Kate, I think you mentioned this with what you do, your reading or something like that. So the Pomodoro technique, and I get this all the time. People are, what does Pomodoro mean? Like, it's really not a time management word, right? Or definition. It's basically, this Pomodoro technique was developed by a guy named Francesco Cirillo. This is back in the 1980s. And the name Pomodoro came from the Italian word tomato, that it kind of pretty much inspired by the tomato-shaped kitchen timer that Cirillo was using when he first created the method. So he called it the Pomodoro technique because it looked like the timer that he used was looked like a tomato. All right, so that's that. So what is the purpose of this technique? This technique improves focus and productivity by working in intervals. And here's an example. You work for 25 minutes, that's 1 Pomodoro, followed by a 5-minute break. And after 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes. That's the Pomodoro technique. Then you have the ABCDE method. Prioritize tasks based on their impact. How it works: label tasks as a high priority, somewhat like the Eisenhower matrix. And then E is the lowest priority. The A tasks, of course, have to be, those are the ones that you need to be really tackling. The 80-20 rule. And that focuses on the few tasks that produce the greatest results. How that works: you identify and concentrate on the 20% of tasks that yield 80% of outcomes. Then you have the time blocking technique, or method, I should say, which allocates specific blocks of time for tasks or activities. And that works by dividing the day into segments dedicated to specific tasks, preventing overlapping and even distractions into these different segments that you have divided the day up into. And then you have, this method was created by David Allen, the GTD method, meaning getting things done. It organized tasks, projects, and commitments to free mental space. So how it works: capture all tasks, clarify them, organize them by category or priority, review regularly, and engage with tasks based on their context and their priority. I put in this Ivy Lee method. The purpose of this one was simply is a way to prioritize daily tasks as well by writing down the 6 most important tasks to accomplish tomorrow. You rank them in order of importance and complete them in sequence. I use this method in some instances, in some cases, some days where there are things like I feel I'm kind of moving back, I'm losing a little ground. I would use this method and I would take my top 6 tasks and I would say, this is what I have to accomplish today. These are the phone calls I have to do. These are the meeting invites I have to get out. Okay, so now this one is a little funny. Eat that frog technique, right? You complete your most difficult, important task, your frog, first thing in the day before moving on to easier tasks. So what you do is you try to get that done. And so for me, if you're going to use this technique, I will use it to not, I don't call it eat the frog technique. I call it before 9. Before 9 prime time. That's what I call it. That's how I label it. Before 9 prime time. That means that I'm going to get this accomplished before 9 a.m. hits, before people start calling, before you got to get into meetings, before you have to do all the other stuff. This is what I'm trying to get accomplished before 9. This is my 9 time prime time. This is my 9 prime time, right? And that means for me is my exercise, my workout, is my breakfast. If I have to take medication, you take medication. If you whatever you have to do that's important and you want to get it out the way, get it out the way before 9, before you get distracted. All right, I'm gonna give y'all one more and then we're done. The last one I'm gonna give you for today is the time log, time tracking. It identifies where time is being spent and wasted. Very effective, guys. A lot of people need to do this before you get into any other method, right? It records activities and time spent on each task throughout the day to identify inefficiencies. And also you use this for your distractions. You use this for your screen time. We did that exercise, the screen time. I bet you some of y'all didn't even know how much time you were on certain distractional social media and digital platforms. All right, guys, that's it for today. I know I stopped at number 9 here, so we'll continue on in part 2. We'll even talk on Discord. Let's make this a very a heavy conversation on Discord during the week, and I'll answer as many questions. If we do have questions, Richard, do we have a moment? Maybe we take a few questions. If anybody have questions or maybe comments, ideas, or anything, I'll be happy to hear some feedback.
If you have any questions, you could put them in the chat, but we did get one on the Q&A. What were number 7 and 8 on the hacks list?
Okay, number 7 and 8 on the hacks list. Let's get here. Let me get back. All right, so 7 and 8 on the hack list was lack of self-discipline and accountability. That was number 7. And number 8 was ineffective task management. And that is, and I'll break this down for a second. A lack of self-discipline and accountability is where it's difficulty sticking to a routine, right? Because without self-discipline, people may start their day unproductively or even allow their focus to pretty much wane off as the day goes on. And then no accountability mechanism, that without accountability, like from maybe a partner, a supervisor, a colleague, that people struggle to follow through their commitments and meeting deadlines. Number 8 was ineffective task management. And I don't think that I broke these down because I was trying to get to the modules. Ineffective task management, I have 2 points here. The focus on low impact tasks. too many people spend too much time on low priority tasks rather than the high priority tasks, right? And I think I talked about this. Being busy, you're busy at just being busy. Right? At the end of the day, you didn't get nothing accomplished. You just did all kind of stuff because there were a lot of low priority tasks that didn't add up to anything. And then you have failure to break down large tasks. I gave you the example that I used for the workshop that I did in my church, that large tasks can feel overwhelming, and that without breaking them down into smaller steps or looking at them on how you can break it down to smaller steps, people will struggle to even get started with that. So that's that. Hope that answers your question.
I think that was it. But we will have the recording posted in Discord.
Awesome. Well, I hope that it was a blessing to you. We're gonna do part 2 next month. But what I would like you guys to do, get on the Discord. Make sure that you register. Get on the Discord, and let's keep this conversation going. Well, listen, thank you guys. I know we're a minute over. I want to get your time back. So I thank you for joining, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.